Welcome to the Recovery Roundtable podcast, where the journey to sobriety opens up through powerful discussions and shared experiences. Join your host, Mark, who will bring you stories of triumph and resilience from the heart of Pacific Shores recovery. Every episode offers insights and support, guiding you through the challenges of addiction recovery. Thank you for joining our community. If you're ready to start or continue your recovery journey, we're here to inspire and support you. Let's explore recovery together.
I love your library. Have you read all those books?
Not all of them, but many.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's my goal one of these days is to have a huge library where every single book I've at least read or perused.
I started reading when I was 16, inspired by a guy I was buying gym equipment from a Facebook marketplace ad. Was telling him about some of my life challenges. He recommended a book. I read it. First book I ever read outside of school, not because I was forced to, but because I actually wanted to. And super cliche, but it happened to be Think and Grow Rich. And that book just led me down a path of stopping at thrift stores and value villages to pick up 4 books for $5. Here we
Different
are.
experience when you read for yourself as opposed to for the teacher, right?
Big time. I actually loved the stuff and was excited to flip the page.
That's awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and jump in. We got a little studio here, so we always love when you're in person. But man, before we even get into it, I just started doing some research on you, and I didn't even know I'm your fan. As I started watching your stuff, I'm like, dang, this guy is really doing a lot of cool stuff with the younger generation. I'm a huge fan of that. So why don't you introduce yourself and basically what you do?
First and foremost, thank you so much for having me and the kind words. My name is Sam Demma. I am an author of a book titled Empty Your Backpack, which helps readers let go of the negative thoughts that weigh them down and hold them back and pursue a meaningful life, whatever that means for them. I am a keynote speaker. I do between 80 to 130-ish keynote speeches per year, primarily in the education space. This serves students or the caring adults that support young people. Sometimes it's principals, vice principals, or social workers or guidance counselors. Say 90% of the events happen within schools across North America or statewide educational or leadership conferences. And my goal is just to make people better, to help people feel better about themselves, make more aligned decisions with who they want to be in the future, all while having some fun. That's pretty much me in a nutshell.
I love that, man, because it's so cool of seeing. And the video I saw, you've got this big ass backpack on, and it was awesome. I was expecting like people to start popping out. What led to that, and what's that platform about?
During the pandemic, I had dozens of presentations. I call them performances. I had dozens of performances at schools canceled and wanted to create spaces where young people felt that they could express themselves despite the fact that I couldn't visit them physically in their school locations. So I started doing these Instagram live calls, and I would invite students up on stage and give them a chance to speak live in front of my Instagram audience. And for many students, that was a very nerve-wracking thing for them to do, but it helped them build some self-confidence and speaking skills. One young man joined during the pandemic named Tony, tells me that he has 2 big goals in life: to be an actor and to have 50,000 followers on TikTok. Why? I didn't really understand. So I asked him a question, tell me what in your life would change if you woke up tomorrow and 50,000 people started following you. And what he told me, I'll never forget. Sam, if I had 50,000 followers, kids at school would stop bullying me.
Mm.
Turns off the camera on his phone, goes completely silent. Fortunately, there was another 30 people watching the call live who started filling the chat box with the most positive stuff. 5 minutes later, turns his camera back on, tears running down his face. We connected him with guidance counselors, sent him stuff in the mail. But after the call ended, I just couldn't stop thinking about the fact that this young man was allowing other people's words about him or actions towards him to totally change the way he saw himself. And I wondered how long he had been carrying around other people's, negative thoughts or opinions of him. And when I thought about carrying around negative thoughts and opinions, I first reflected on the negative thoughts and opinions I carried in my own life and how they affected me greatly and stopped me from doing things or being my true self. And I took that analogy further and thought, well, if you're carrying lots of negative thoughts or opinions, you probably have a pretty, big burden. And this whole image of a backpack came to mind. And at the time I was writing poems, and one of them was about letting go of these negative thoughts inspired by this conversation. And I thought, if you're not letting go of them, you're probably carrying them. What do kids carry? Backpacks. I titled it Empty Your Backpack and went on Google, searched giant backpack. I thought I could turn it into a spoken word video. And I found this big red bag, and now it's become a very powerful metaphor for this idea that our most important possessions in life are not physical things, but our beliefs. And the beliefs we carry, lead to how we feel and the actions we take, and evidently like the outcomes of our entire lives. And I use the backpack to bring that metaphor and bridge the gap for young people who might be having a hard time to understand the importance of mindset or their own beliefs.
I love that, man. That is so freaking cool of really making it to a metaphor that you can see and that you can feel. So what I've learned doing this for a little while, we tend to have a painful past when we want to stand on a platform to help other people. And so I'm curious what your background is that led you to this wonderful movement.
My therapist told me that there are three beliefs that most human beings have. Um, Not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough. And the not good enough was the one that I struggled with the most. Growing up, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. Um, what do you remember about being 5 years old, Mark?
So I mean, we can go into my story if you want, but I don't remember much before a certain age, and I didn't know
Mm.
why. And it came from actually at 8 years old, I walked in on my aunt overdosed. And I
Wow.
was I was the one that found her and actually ended up running and grabbing my mom. Mom came and revived her and saved her, but she kicked her out shortly thereafter because it was me and my little sister. And then a few months later, one town over, same thing happened, but there was no 8-year-old boy there to save her. And
Mm.
so I didn't know. I got really good at just stuffing and suppressing, and it worked all the way up until about college.
Wow.
And then it all just erupted. So I don't have too many memories like early on. I'm sure if I really dived into therapy and started doing it, it would
Mm.
come back. But I had a wonderful therapist that as I was starting to look at some of the things from my past, she asked a brilliant question. She goes, now, some therapists believe you have to go back, some believe you don't have to go back. Let me ask you, what are you wanting to get from going back? And I'm kind of like,
Mm.
well, to find out what happened. Okay, what would you do with that information? And she led me down the path that eventually would say, I would still be living the exact same way, but I'm really happy now with the work I've done. So I don't need to go back and find out all the crap
Mm.
that happened. Let's just focus on how I can continue to grow. And so we still go through the backpack stuff, but as far as specific memories, I'm like, I don't have too many.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that.
Oh
I
man,
think
I'm an open book, brother.
yeah, I think the beautiful thing is that everyone's initial circumstances in life can be like so vastly different. Yeah, we all have an opportunity to choose where we end up based on, hopefully the beliefs we carry and the choices we make afterwards. Not to say that anyone's beginnings are easy. It sounds like you had a challenging, past, and I think about my childhood, and it was solely focused on soccer. Like from the time I was a baby until the time I was 17.
So who is your idol? Who is the player?
His name's Andrea Pirlo.
Okay.
He's retired now, um, but he had humble confidence. Knew he could do all the things he needed to do, but didn't brag, didn't boast. Just showed up in his basic shoes and got the job done at the highest level. And he had really nice hair too.
That's that's definitely a plus in the football realm.
Yeah. And I just chased that dream. And at 13, a pro club in Italy moved me there for 6 months of my childhood. At 17, I was playing on one of the um, top performing teams in Canada. And we had a lot of scouts coming to our practices to watch our team play. I ended up getting a full ride scholarship offer to the University of Memphis. What is the first step toward one day playing professional? And then I had 3 major knee injuries,
Mm.
2 surgeries, tore the labrum in my right hip, and spent 2.5 years trying my best to get back on the field before finally making the decision that maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore because the mental challenges and physical challenges were really challenging at that point in my life. I made the decision to stop playing. And I think that's really that 2 year period of time is really where the belief started that I began carrying that I just wasn't good enough. My whole team, most of them went on to earn scholarships and to play professionally. And I felt like I had spent so much time and effort and had nothing to really show for it. And I wanted other people to realize after I got through my own challenges that there's no waste of hard work because it builds your character and personality. And you carry those things forward for the rest of your life. But I had a good 3 year period of time where I was navigating, felt really lost and unsure about my future. And that's where all the work I do today sprung from.
So, what would you have wanted to tell yourself now with who you are if you could go back to that I'll call it a dark part of your life of kind of losing your identity, right? What is the thing that you needed to hear that you'd go back and tell yourself?
That there are supposed to be challenges in life, and the challenges are meant to shape you and change you and push you to grow and evolve. And that it might not make sense when you're going through the challenge, but when you get to the other side, you might not know when, but when you do, and at some point you will arrive at the other end. When you look back, you may actually be grateful that it turned out the way it did. I love the work I do today, and if I didn't go through the challenging period of Sam losing his identity as an athlete, I would have never written a book. I would have never traveled Canada and the United States, meeting so many amazing human beings and sharing stories that move people emotionally. The challenge can be a gift when you're looking back. I would have also told younger Sam not to hesitate to reach out for support.
Mm.
Sometimes we have so much pride in trying to do things ourselves or carry the backpack alone. But when you share what you're carrying with somebody else, it becomes half as heavy. And maybe if they've walked the path, they can help shorten the path for yourself. I think those are a few of the things I would have told myself for sure.
Yeah, and we're seeing that more and more nowadays. Is for some reason when we're in that pit of pain is what I call it. We feel so alone and we feel broken and like nobody would understand and they would judge us, which just kind of stacks on top of that. So how important is community and just sharing openly during that process?
I can name so many people who have supported me in different ways where if I didn't reach out for support, I may have made a different decision and my life today would be a totally different situation as a result. I think of my world issues teacher, Mr. Loudfoot, who I shared my struggles with, who redirected me down a totally different path, taught me this lesson that, Sam, it's okay. Soccer is this one game in life, but life has thousands of games, and the skill set you built can be applied to another one. And he was passionate about solving social problems, so he taught us this lesson about small, consistent actions making a big difference and challenged us to do something in the community to make a contribution. That conversation led to picking up garbage, which led to starting a volunteer group with my buddy where we'd pick up trash for 1 hour once a week, which led to an organization we ran for 6 years voluntarily, mobilizing young people to pick up trash, which led to speaking in schools and all the work I'm doing now. And so there's like one little conversation or reaching out for support to my teacher that changed the whole trajectory of my life. There's been conversations with mentors and parents during difficult times, and their advice have led me down different paths. And so sometimes it's crazy to look back and think, wow, if I didn't meet that specific person at that specific time and ask them this specific question, where would I be? So I think it's so important that people reach out for support. I also think about the moments where I wasn't able to support myself. Like and that's okay. There's moments where you need somebody else to just be there for you and be there with you. I remember coming home from school almost every single day in my 5th year of high school and just uncontrollably crying because I didn't know what my future held. And like during that time, I don't know that I needed lots of advice. I just needed someone to be there. And I was fortunate that I had a sister and some parents who were in my life, and those were those people for me. But having someone that can just be there for you is really valuable.
And you mentioned kind of two sets of people. You said the one that was there to kind of help guide you and give you some real key advice that helped
Yeah.
change the trajectory of your life, but also those that on the other end of the spectrum, it's like, I don't want the advice. I just want someone to listen. And I see these two get confused, and I've been on the other end too. I'm like, oh, they want my advice. And they're like, man, I just wanted you to listen. How do you suggest to navigate that of someone that is maybe in that struggle of how to guide the person they're going to of how they want help? Does that make sense?
Ask them. I think that most of the time, people, if you ask, will tell you how they want to be supported. For example, your friend's struggling and reaches out to you for advice. Maybe they even ask you a question. What would you do if you're in my situation? Or they start telling you about a challenging situation. You can just pause and say, hey, look, do you want help trying to see, things from your perspective and brainstorm some solutions with you? Or would you prefer that I just listen? Because I'm more than happy to do both. I love you and care about you, and I'm here to support you however you need the support. And I think most of the time people will give you an answer. And if they don't, I would default to listening as much as you can and asking follow-up questions. I've had conversations with coaches in my life who I'm bawling my eyes out on the other side of the phone. And they're just they're giving no advice. They're just consistently asking me questions, and 45 minutes flies by. And I feel like all the problems have been solved. And they didn't tell me to do anything. So I think that if you're uncertain, default to asking questions to help people make their own conclusions. But if they're open to telling you, just ask them from the jump. Hey, how can I support you best by brainstorming solutions or just being here for you?
Thank you for listening. This episode is brought to you by Pacific Shores Recovery. We have been an industry leader for over 25 years in the mental health and addiction field. We have worked with thousands and thousands of individuals and their loved ones overcome addiction. If you or a loved one needs help or support of any kind, reach out at the number below. We have people standing by to help. Man, that's so good. Oh, that's awesome. So you kind of lost your identity temporarily from being a soccer player and having your eye on, here's what I want to do for my life. Here's who I am. It's not what I do, it's who I am.
Yeah.
And then several injuries that gets removed, and you have a teacher that kind of helps guide you. And the process, you said, it was so beautiful of kind of see where you are now. And I'm like, man, the story you just took us through, it was like you picked up one piece of trash, and that one single piece of trash led you to where you are now, going around the world, helping the younger generation identify, what you do isn't necessarily who you are. And this day and age, you can reinvent yourself again and again and again. That is just awesome. So what are some of the things that excite you nowadays that you're working on, or any projects?
We have a children's book coming out that teaches young people the value of empathy. It's called Be Someone's Taco. I had a friend who was struggling a little bit during the pandemic, called him one afternoon, and the first thing he told me was that he was still lying in bed. It was like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So I knew right away this person was probably not feeling so great. We hang up the phone. I wanted to do something to make him feel better. He's a friend of mine. Go on his social media, start scrolling through his posts, and come across this one that says, my vote for dinner tonight is #tacos. Simplest idea, Mark. My friend likes tacos. What would happen if I surprised him with tacos? So I go on Uber Eats, find this taco dinner, punch in his home address. He lives a good hour away from me. You know how you can watch the car on the app drive down all the streets?
Yeah.
Staring at my phone, 20 minutes, finally get the notification saying the tacos have been delivered. Less than 30 seconds, FaceTime call from my friend. He's sitting on a bar stool in front of his kitchen countertop, cardboard box tacos open behind him, bawling his eyes out. And I'm like, dude, it's 2 tacos in a box. Calm down. And he's like, you don't get it, man. Like, we had to shut down our business and lay off employees. Maybe for you, it's just these 2 tacos in a box, but for us, this is a moment that we're going to remember for the rest of our lives. He was referring to him and his wife, and hung up the phone. Next day, wake up, 500 taco emojis sent to my phone from my friend Andrew. Every time we talked for the next year, he'd bring it up. And then that year on my birthday, he called me, said, dude, check your email. I have a surprise for you. And I open it, and there's this logo of a bright yellow smiling taco. And above it, it says, be someone's taco. And he's like, dude, it's not about encouraging people to buy their friends food, but recognizing that what seems insignificant to you could mean the absolute world to another human being. That if everyone does carry a backpack and is filled with their beliefs and their challenges and their struggles, we don't actually know what other people are carrying. So every action could either empty something and make their life a little easier, or do the opposite, which we want to avoid. And being someone's taco is just looking for these opportunities to try and be what people need. And so we took that whole story and turned it into a kid's book that teaches the same principle, to be there for people or be what people need. And we're launching that in mid-May. I'm very excited about it. And outside of that, it's just finding ways to reach more people and spread more messages that help and support. And yeah, I really appreciate you asking that question.
Yeah, oh, that story is so dang good. And I'm curious how, because I don't feel like we're trained to think like that.
Yeah.
And to actually have the foresight to see, because I know, especially most of us guys, hey, how you doing? Oh, good. That is just the most placative answer, as opposed to, man, I'm hurting. Like, until you shared the story of, here's what happened. He lost his business, had to lay people off, and just having that foresight of going, I can do something for this person that lets them know that I'm thinking about them, I honor them, I appreciate them, I respect them. Something as simple as 2 tacos. Because so many times we hear it too, of like, well, I don't have money, I can't afford it. And it's like you said, it was 2 tacos. What do you think we can do to start to kind of train this part of the brain of be more aware? Because you talked about empathy before, to be more aware of this, to be able to really do good in this world.
I think we miss the opportunities because we're so distracted by technology and our own needs and desires in life. I think that making a decision to be present with people when you are making a decision to give your time to somebody and just be there with them, which is very challenging these days. But when you do make that choice consciously, you pick up more information on how people are feeling, on the tone of their voice. We talked through the phone, and I made an assumption based on how he sounded while we were talking. Man, this guy's probably not doing so great. And the crazy thing is that doing that act of kindness, it's impossible to do something good for somebody and not also feel great about it yourself. Like, selfishly, I felt amazing, and I couldn't have given that to myself in any other way than trying to help somebody. And so recognizing that helping others can heal your own hurt too is something that I think we should all carry forward. And we shouldn't just help people so that we can feel good about our lives, but just know that it's a really nice benefit of doing so. So yeah, I would say it's about making a decision to be present with people when you are with people. Turn your phone on, do not disturb, put it away, sit and talk face to face, listen, not just to respond, but to understand, or try your best to understand where they're coming from. But I don't know that I have a very scientific question or answer on how to train the brain. I think that I try my best to just pick up on some cues from people.
Well, and it's working. You talked about small daily habits as well, but one of the things that came up that you just hit on is, we call it here at our center, healthy selfish. It's ways that I can take care of myself so I can do more for others. And one of our primary foundational freedoms is family and friends, meaning relationships, and how to engage and to give. We call it either the daily deposit or the message of gratitude. And so of understanding that this concept, I've been able to create my entire lifestyle off of what I call healthy selfish. It's like, wow, when I help other people, I feel really good. And so at first, I mean, I used to be ashamed to say this. Now I'm just so open. I'm like, everybody knows. But I'm like, I was the kid in high school that would go down high school and college to Mexico, which is just about, it's a 2-hour drive south from where we are. I make sure to take the old disposable cameras. We take the pictures while they're building the house for 4 or 5 days. And then the other 360 days, I'm showing everybody the pictures. Look how good I am. Like, look at what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay. Well, since that's kind of the innate quality, because you said it so well of like, I felt really good when I help people. I'm going, how can I actually turn a lifestyle into this? And so
Mm,
that's where just by continually helping. So this is the part where sometimes I get some conflict with people, but I'm like, if helping other people, you're doing it because it makes you feel better, go do that. Like
mm.
that is an okay way of going, man, I feel crappy. I'm just gonna go start helping people because I desire to feel better. And then eventually making a living off that. Like I would have you consider that you do what you do because it does feel so good. And you know that you are that doctor. What is it? Proudfoot? What was his name?
Loudfoot.
Yeah, Mr. Loudfoot. What a great name. You are able to be that person for so many other people that just that little micro shift, now the trajectory is so much different for their entire life. And they're going to be able to come from a place that actually means something.
I appreciate that reflection. I had some challenges myself with my own dialogue internally around having a lifestyle built on helping other people. And then I had a mentor tell me, Sam, there are companies that destroy people's lives, and there's billion-dollar corporations based on them. Why should you feel bad about building your life around helping and serving others and providing value that's going to change someone's life? There's nothing to be guilty about. And that mindset shift and that reframe really helped change it in my own head. And I appreciate you bringing it up. I feel amazing when someone has an aha moment because of the work that we're doing. And I think it's the reason why I keep coming back.
Yeah, I call it being a conduit for my creator. It's
Yeah.
like, all right, God, help me get out of the way and just use me however you need to, because I keep screwing this up. Like, I know when I put me first in an unhealthy way, I'm freaking
Mm.
miserable and depressed. When I try to remove myself so I can be used for good, I'm like, I've had the best day. And I'll call a buddy, dude, today's Monday, still 5 more days. I'm like, I love Mondays, you know?
That's awesome,
Oh.
man.
So what's a belief that you used to maybe strongly hold on to? Because we've been speaking about identity, that you made a decision to work through and let that go and your life changed.
I think a belief I used to carry that I let go of and has made a massive change in my life is that success is determined by the amount of money generated or even the amount of people whose lives were changed as a result of the work we were doing. As a competitive athlete growing up, I found myself attaching success to things that were very measurable. Did I score a goal? Did I complete X number of passes? And when I transitioned out of sports into an entrepreneurial path, I took that same mentality and applied it to my work. If we generate X, we are a success. If we help X number of people, we are a success. And I found myself reaching a lot of these goals and felt really empty inside. Like I'd reach a goal that I thought was supposed to make me super excited because I wrote it down and here we are achieving it, and nothing in my life changed as a result. And I realized that maybe the definition of success that I carried was wrong. And so I tested out a few different ones. And now I've landed on success to me means contributing to others through work that I love with people I love. And that's really it. If I feel like I'm making a contribution to other people and doing it through work that I enjoy with people that I love, I am a success. And it's a belief that I've been carrying recently, and I found that it's really helped change um, my own energy levels and outlook on the work that I'm doing. So I think that would be one of them.
Yeah, life gets pretty fun once we start defining our own version of success.
I had a conversation with a buddy recently, told me about a book called Never Enough, and I haven't read it yet, but as someone who grew up on a very competitive landscape in sport, I'm excited to check it out. So if
That's
anyone's
so
listening,
funny.
have a read.
Yeah, what's so funny you just said that because I was just on a podcast. I think it was last week. What's today? Tuesday? Yeah, it was last week. And we were talking about this unsatiable appetite where people just continue because I'm in the mental health and addiction field. And it was, I've heard it before, I'm sure I butchered it, but it's like there's one thing that everybody chases, but they're never able to attain. And this is what creates so much pain and suffering. Can you guess what it
Mm,
is? And no one ever guessed it. And it's enough. Like no matter how fit you get, it's never enough. No matter how much money you make, it's never enough. And once we remove enough from the equation, like we start defining our own level of success. So I'm so glad you nailed that. One of the things I'd love to, you brought this up earlier, and I'd love to jump into it, is you talked about social media. And I don't know if you've read The Anxious Generation. I've got two kids, one going into high school, another in junior high. And man, it's such an eye opener because I was not born with social media. I'm an old timer.
Yeah.
But what's incredible is I had this one-sided view of like social media is terrible because you see all these statistics. And last year I felt a calling to start volunteering at a suicide crisis center. And I was blown away. I was thinking it was going to be all adults. How many kids are in high school dealing with this? And it's like the last ditch effort. They reach out and they're basically saying like today is the day, and just like sitting there and just working through it with them. But of looking at this, I'm like, man, and there's so much data stating that social media is just this negative part. But you brought something up, and it's been a real realization recently, and it's actually how we met through Dan's group of, oh my gosh, social media can actually be a beautiful thing. It's just like anything in life. It can be used for horrific things, but it can also be used for beautiful things. So you mind if we kind of go down that rabbit hole a little bit and kind of experience this?
Of course.
So where are you at with this whole social media thing of the beautiful versus the evil?
I find that the tool is set up in a way that if we're not careful, we will become consumed by it pretty quickly because I mean, the people and the teams that set it up studied human psychology and set up the apps in a way that it really encourages us to continuously come back and use the app. And the way the colors are set up and the buttons and the pop-up notifications and everything is designed to hold our attention for longer periods of time. And I've found in my own life that the more time I do spend on the platform scrolling or looking at other things, the less happy I genuinely feel in my day-to-day operations in life. And so I've tried my entire career to find a balance between using the tool of social media and not losing myself to the way it's set up to consistently grab my attention. I've tried my best to curate my feed, which is something I recommend a lot of people do. If there's a page that doesn't make you feel good, you can unfollow that page. Stop telling your algorithm that you want to see more of this stuff. If there are things on your discovery page you don't like, if you hold down on the image or the video, you can hit, please don't show me content like this anymore. And then your social media becomes more of a portal of learning and hope and optimism, if that's what you want to fill it with. And I found that that's been a big positive for me. But I also had a period of time where I decided that my own willpower was not strong enough to resist all the temptations to use it all day. So I took a full year off.
So what
and
did
that
that
was really
expose to
interesting.
you?
It made me realize that it wasn't a necessary tool that I even needed, because I was telling myself that I would feel more connected if I had this, and my business would grow as a result because I need it for marketing, and told myself all these stories. And I didn't use it for a year. And rather than spending time on the platforms, I made phone calls to friends and family, which helped me feel more connected when I was feeling by myself or alone and wanted to hear about somebody's day or get an update.
Wild
And
idea to make calls.
and the business grew. So it was quite the experience. And everyone in my life who was in the business space, who was a speaker, were all telling me, dude, you can't do this. People are going to forget about you and not know who you are anymore, blah, blah, blah. Like it was interesting, but that's what it taught me.
What a great lesson. So one of the things I was picking up on is when you become a creator with your social media, it can
Yeah.
be used as a good tool when you become the consumer. And that's the part too that all these it's like the world's best psychologists and psychoanalysts are being hired. And I remember reading this a while ago, and they found that it actually lights up the little dopamine hits from likes and different things, the same part of the brain that controls the addiction side. And so literally we are conditioning ourselves for this addiction of constant gratification and instant gratification, which the long-term, the long-term issues are a little bit different. So how are you able to take a year off with all the stories and all the people telling you, no, it's the wrong decision?
I think people will change when it gets so challenging in their life that they have no other choice and they have to, or if they're, forced to do so by, something or someone that loves them and cares about them and holds them accountable to it. I personally just got to a point where I was spending so much time on my phone and my own mental health was deteriorating. I was constantly comparing myself to other people in my space. This was 2020 going into 2021, right around the time the pandemic was going on. And I guess, forecasted what my life would look like into the future if this pattern continued and didn't like where it was going and decided like enough was enough here and I gotta try something. And I guess as an athlete growing up, I may have been a little extreme with like training regimens and other things. So I just made the decision, no social media for the next year. Um, and I did it for I'll say 9 months. And then I had a creative idea to create a graduation video for the graduating class of 2021 because they had missed their graduation ceremonies. And I came back on social media to share that video, and it reached like 60, 70,000 people and was shown to a bunch of schools across North America. And there's your whole premise again of like creator versus consumer. I just came back to share a unique idea that I thought would be helpful with people. Um, but to answer your question, it just got to a point where I wasn't comfortable with it continuing, and I decided like I need to make a change here.
Man, you're such an amazing giver. It's cool to just get to chat with you and see how your brain works, and it's continue like, how do I give? How do I share? Were you
Mm.
always that way?
Um, I think I had some really great influences as a kid. My grandfather passed when I was 13. We share the same name.
Mm.
He worked two jobs. During the day, he'd work at General Motors, putting together cars, and then, sorry, at night he'd work General Motors, and then during the day he'd work on a farm. And it was his way of supporting my dad growing up and the kids that came from Italy with pretty much nothing. But at the farm, he would make, you know, 20 times as much vegetables as he could consume. And then he would put them in cardboard boxes and drop them on a bunch of people's porches, and like friends and family. Unannounced, he would just show up and drop it off. And everyone goes, "Oh, Sam was here. Sam must have been here and dropped this off." My dad one time called him to come help with some gardening at the back of our house in the middle of summer. Told him he'd be there by 7 a.m. Dad wakes up 6:50, puts on his clothes, goes to get outside. Grandfather's standing there with the shovel. The job is finished. Guy showed up 4 in the morning, did the work, said, "Joe, just get me a coffee. I got to go to my next job." And so I think I grew up really wanting to be like my grandfather. He's someone that I really looked up to, and he embodied what it meant to be of service to people. And I think I've tried to carry forward that philosophy in my life. And I think my parents too inspire me a lot. Um, and then I think if we go back to the it makes you feel good thing, I've just started to realize from doing a few good things that I feel better when I do good stuff, and I want to keep doing good stuff. I get a lot out of it, and so do the other people. And um, so yeah, I think it was a combination between those people and my own experiments.
Man, I want to be like your grandpa now. That story is awesome. And again, just training the brain of to look how to provide more value, because having the job finished by the time that the person thought it was going to be
Yeah.
started, like that's like next level giving. That is awesome. So I was like having practical things for our viewers and listeners to work with, and you actually hit on something. I don't even know if you were aware, but you're talking about changing behavior, and we were talking about social media, and you actually went on a topic that was fantastic. You started to look out to the future, and we talk about pain versus pleasure. If I can go out in the
Mm.
future, will this current behavior provide more pleasure in the future or create more pain in the future if I continue at the way that I'm going? So what were some of the things that you saw of looking out in the future and saying this is actually going to be painful, that you were able to make a decision that day to say I'm going cold turkey off of social media?
I think the first was physically my eyes, like staring at a screen all day hurts after a while. Um, and I have a grandma who has like cataracts and things with going on with her vision. And so I was thinking about like the future of my sight and how seeing the world is more valuable than seeing my Instagram feed. That's a super extreme far in the future example. That's one that came to mind. A second future reality was one where all of my dreams were unrealized because rather than doing the necessary work that I needed to be doing to bring some of the impact to life I wanted to create, I was distracted on my phone. I also read a study at the same time that I was starting this 1 year off social media period in my life about the average amount of time somebody spends staring at their phone throughout the course of their entire lifespan. And I can't remember the numbers right now, but I can tell you that it was enough years of a person's life that it made me go, holy smokes, what could I do if I had an extra X number of years that I decided not to spend on my phone? So I think those things, along with the reading that information, really pushed me to make that decision that day, right then and there. And talking about it now kind of makes me want to make the same decision again. Like,
Yeah. Well, just the way that you put it of looking and seeing, okay, at the end of our life, this is how many hours on average, or excuse me, years because of the
Yep.
hours, I would miss out on life. And that's what I think we miss. I know so many times I live life like this of just right here, right now, blinders on, not even aware of what's going on. And so sometimes hitting pause, pumping the brakes to take a step back, to say, wait a minute, what is, because there's a cost of everything. What is the cost of this at the end
Mm,
of my life? And to hear that, and that just hit me too, because I mean, I've got two kids, and I got so good for a while of from 5 to 9, it was no phone time. And I would put my
mm.
phone down and be totally present. And then I would find it like mysteriously. It was like, it winds up in your hand. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow. And so one of the things, and I wish I could tell you I'm batting 1,000, but I'm not. I don't even think I'm Hall of Fame yet. I'll get there. But like I think of the message I'm sending to my kids when I have it in my hand of this is more important than you. And when I think of that, man, that is soul crushing. And so of creating these own consequences for ourselves to change the undesired behavior is so important, man. So
I
I
appreciate you
love that you
bringing that
brought that
up.
up.
I don't know that I did it consciously at the time. Yeah.
Well, that's why I love engaging with other just awesome people is because just through a dialogue, we're kind of exploring together. And then by asking questions like, oh, I don't know, what did I do? And we replay it in our brain. We're like, oh, here's exactly what I do. And like, here's the social media system to
Mm,
cut. It's like, oh, wow, I didn't like, there's a process. There's a process to everything. We're just usually running on autopilot. We're not even aware of it. So I
mm.
love that you're sharing that and breaking it down. Well, as we're kind of coming up to the time, I got a meeting here in a little bit. I want to ask a few more questions, but one question is what is a question that maybe nobody's asked you before, but that you've been wanting to answer?
Um,
This episode is brought to you by Pacific Shores Recovery. We have been an industry leader for over 25 years in the mental health and addiction field. What we do works. We have helped thousands and thousands of individuals and families overcome their addiction and their issues. If you or a loved one need support or some kind of help, please reach out at the number below. We are here to help.
when was a time in your life that you felt like a fraud?
Mm,
And the reason I think it's such a powerful question is because I think that like most people that are trying to do something significant with their life will have a moment where they doubt their abilities, they question themselves and even the intent behind what they're doing, or their capacity of bringing it to life. Um, and no one's ever asked me that before, but I've had a few moments in my life. I had one very recently that I'd love to share, and I haven't talked about it anywhere else yet, but I recently read a book called Turning Pro by an author named Stephen Pressfield. Our mutual friend Dan talks about it a lot.
yeah.
And I read it 8 months ago and it didn't really resonate with me much, but the second time I read it, I felt so exposed. And the reason I did was because I have this ambition and this desire to become a better communicator and performer and presenter with the hope of reaching more young people and making a difference. But unless I was hired by a school or a conference to speak, I wasn't daily practicing my speaking. I wasn't writing new material. And I thought about my time as an athlete and how daily practice was a big part of my life. Even when there was no upcoming games, we were showing up for 2 hours at the field to sharpen our skills. And yeah, this was a couple of weeks ago. And since I've started rebuilding a daily practice in my life of practicing speaking and writing, and it has been a really great period of time for me. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask myself a question and answer it.
Yeah, no, that's why I love this, because yeah, what you shared, I remember for the longest time, I would think, oh, well, once you become successful, then you don't feel like an imposter or a fraud anymore. And I don't know if that ever goes away. I know I asked that question to actually a lot of people that are in my circle, and almost all of them, I can't think of a single person goes, nope, never dealt with that. Most people say,
Yeah.
oh, like you think I'm successful. There's still days where in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're such a fraud. No one will listen. Everything's going away. And it's this fear-based thought process and scarcity. And it's kind of like, I got to check myself. When we let our thoughts run unchecked, man, they cause chaos. It's crazy.
So true. And I found through practicing or aligning my actions with the person that I desire to be, that sometimes that voice lessens a little bit. And there's still moments when you're really doing the work that you're going to feel it and hear it, but at least you have that proof of each day. Hey, I'm doing the thing. Um, I always think about painting. If you pull out a canvas and paint every single day, you can call yourself a painter. But if you just paint once a year, you're painting. But to be a painter, you got to give some time to it. And so I think that's helped me just lessen that voice a little bit as well.
I like that. That's awesome. So, final question is, you're already doing such amazing things. Let's say it's a year from now. You just had the best year of your life, like across every different part of life. Where are you 1 year from now, living that best version?
A year from now, we have a team of 5 people that are working on this vision together of just creating more impact, reaching more people. We will have had close to 60, 57 people in our elite speaker coaching program. These are individuals that have really important messages for schools and students, but don't know how to bring their messages to these audiences. We have just over 20 students now. And so we want to grow and expand that, because I can only physically speak alone to so many audiences throughout my life. But if we can help other people get in front of audiences and they do 1,000 talks throughout their careers because of something we shared with them, it starts this never ending ripple effect of impact. So a year from now, we will have had 60 students go through the program. We will have launched the book, Empty Your Backpack, the Be Someone's Taco, the kids' book. Yeah. And it'll be in the hands of tons of families that are using it to start meaningful conversations with their kids at a very young age. And I will be spending time with people I love and doing work that I love. And hopefully not in a really cold place a year from now.
I love it. Well, so what came to my mind was, man, how can I help you? So a year from now, I was able to help do something. Like, what is it that you're needing or desiring in order to get there?
I appreciate it, Mark. I think that you being you is more than enough. I don't know that I have a specific outcome or objective that I require support on right now, but I think that the world needs more people that are doing things that light their soul on fire. And it's very obvious that you're doing that work. And I think that's the biggest contribution we can all make to each other and the world as a whole, to just continue to stay in that presence. But if that changes, I'll definitely reach out, and vice versa. If there's anything I can ever do, please reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the start, because we just officially met. Even though I think we chatted back and forth, and I just love surrounding myself with beautiful souls that are naive enough to think we can actually change the world just a little bit. I love that. So, what came to mind for me was, talked about a warm place. Well, I'm in Orange County, California. So when you're ready to move, man, you let me know. I'll have my team help out.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're ever in this neck of the woods, let me know. Love to meet you in person.
Will do.
You got it. Well, thank you. Appreciate your time, man.
Thanks, Mark. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe and send this to someone that you know.